When you tell people you're moving to Australia, suddenly everyone becomes a motivational speaker. Best decision you'll ever make, mate, you'll have the time of your life, just go and enjoy it. Especially Uncle Darren, gap year 2004, still emotionally living there. But here's what no one tells you. Australia could give you the best year of your life, like it did to me, but it can also quietly stress you out in ways you never expected. Because on the surface, it looks very similar to the UK until you land. But there are 22 things that no one's going to tell you before you arrive here. Not the Instagram stuff or the visit surfers paradise stuff, the tiny decisions that will make your first 6 months either really smooth or absolutely chaotic. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you need to do when you first touch down in Australia, and you'll avoid the mistakes that everybody else does. Let's get into it. So number one, buy the biggest bottle of sunscreen. You see this sunscreen bottle here? Right, it's 1 litre, it's from Cancer Council. Leave your British or wherever you're from sunscreen at home and just buy sunscreen when you get here. Not only will you save space on your luggage, but trust me, Aussie sunscreen, they know what they're doing. It's gone through a lot of testing and it's literally built to survive the brutal UV radiation here in Australia. And trust me, in Australia, it gets really high, like 12, 13, like levels that you would never see in the UK. And yes, even if you visit a colder part of Australia, like Tasmania, the UV is still very, very high. So make sure you've got a big supply of sunscreen. It's much cheaper here than I found it to be in the UK. So if you're a bit worried about some of the chemicals in it, you still could get something like a zinc-based sunscreen, which is more natural and better for the sea as well. And what's also really good to do is hit that cheeky little like button if you're enjoying this video. Number two, get proper sunglasses. If you wear prescription glasses, get some prescription sunnies. Even if you don't think it's that important, trust me, your eyeballs will thank you for it. They'll be so much more comfortable because you'll be wearing sunnies a lot in Australia, and that does go for the colder parts of the continent. The light here is really intense, and beach days, you think that, oh, I just won't look into the sky, I won't look at the sun, that's common sense, but the sun reflecting off of the bright white sand into your eye, it gets really painful. I didn't realise this, I made the mistake going to the beach and it hurts. And then you go into the city centre and the light bounces off the tarmac, and over time you might think it's fine, but it can do damage to your retinas. And if you're here for a considerable amount of time, you don't want to do a considerable amount of damage. Make sure they're properly UV protected, and it's worth investing a little bit more money into them. Ones that not only are UV protected, but the little screws in them don't fall apart. And while we're being sensible adults for these 5 seconds, number 3 is save your property searches. This one is boring, that's why nobody tells you it. When you search for a property to either rent or buy, if you're, money bags, you'll probably be using an online real estate site, and a lot of these let you save your search for what amount of suburbs and type of apartment or house you're looking for, what your budget is, and then you can select to get notifications every time this property search gets new results, which is so helpful. And the reason why I say this is because the property market in Australia right now is extremely competitive. So competitive that you think, oh yeah, I'll find an apartment in the next couple of weeks, and there's other people with their saved property searches go into that first property viewing of the week. They charm the real estate agent, they have a glowing application, and they bag that property before you've even been able to book your own viewing. Look, because there's a housing crisis here right now, the market moves really fast. It's more competitive than London, and I have rented there for a couple of years of my life. But the more on top of it you are, the higher the odds of finding a place that you actually want to live in and are happy to spend that money, and the sooner you'll have a home. Speaking of getting things organised before things get chaotic, number 4, learn the road rules for your state. Now, as a Brit, even though I come from a nation that's made up of 4 different countries, the road rules are pretty similar wherever you go in the UK. But then enter Australia, and each state actually has its nuances. We covered this in the 10 driving rules that tourists always break in Australia, so click that and save it to watch to the end of this video. And in it, I spoke about how in Melbourne, you do something called a hook turn, which looks absolutely bizarre. And then each state has different rules on whether you need to drive with a physical license, whether you can drive just with your digital license, which is a thing now. So just Google the road rules for the state that you're moving to or visiting, and it'll clear up any questions you might have. Now, as you'd expect with Australia being a massive continent, it doesn't have a one-size-fits-all public transport system, which is kind of exciting. In Melbourne, you need to get a MyKey card. You can pick these up at a newsagent's or a 7-Eleven. You load money onto it. If you've got Android, you can put it on your phone. If you've got an iPhone, sorry, it's not available just yet. Brisbane, you can now tap on with your phone, and it's only 50 cents on any of the buses, ferries, what else is there? Trains, which is absolutely amazing. You could go all the way from Brisbane to the Gold Coast for 50 cents. That's 25p Brits. So similar to the previous point, Google what city or town that you're living in, how the public transport system works there, and then when you get here, you're not stressing about, oh, how do I do this and that, because there'll be so much on your mind. If you're in a busy city as well, it's the last thing you want to think about. Okay, now point number 6, get an eSIM. I remember my first morning when I moved to Australia. I was incredibly jet lagged. I'd already had 2 coffees and it did nothing. And the absolute last thing I wanted to do was wait in a really long line at an airport to get my SIM card. And this is why I really like Saily. They provide eSIMs, so you just download the Saily app to your phone like I've done here. Choose a data plan. This one looks good to me. And the thing I love about it is I just download this to my phone and I don't need to put a physical SIM card in. And I was really surprised to see how many affordable plans they have in over 200 countries, which is mad. And yes, they even have unlimited data plans. Once you've picked the plan you like the look of, just head on over to the checkout. And thank you, Saily, for absolutely sourcing us out. Use my code SAMFORD for 15% off, or you can scan that QR code here. Super easy to install, just follow the on-screen instructions like I'm doing now. There we go. There's 24/7 chat support if you get stuck, and if you're not here yet, it'll automatically activate when you land, so you've got internet straight away. I literally did this in less time than it takes for me to drink half of my coffee. So you can get an exclusive 15% discount on Saily data plans. Download the app and scan this QR code, and make sure to use Sam Ford at the checkout. Thank you for sponsoring this video, Saily. Number 7, buy winter clothes. Yes, really. Especially with your relatives back at home, you'll think it's hot 24/7. It's not. Even the proper hot parts of Australia, like far north Queensland and Brisbane, where I currently live, they really drop in temperature in wintertime. We grow up with this myth in the UK that even in an Australian winter, it's still beautifully hot and over 30 each day, and it gets chilly. Especially once you've acclimatized in summer to proper Aussie heat, your baseline for what's cold will go down, I guess, which means that the higher the temperature it is, the more chilly you will feel. So if you do this, future you will feel smug and warm. Do you know what else will make you feel smug and warm inside? That's not being one of the 87% of people who regularly watch these videos and aren't yet subscribed. So if you want to join this lovely community and see Australia through the eyes of this clueless Brit, hit that subscribe button if you're feeling cheeky. Number 8, open an Aussie bank account. If you get a job here, you're earning money here, and you'll probably want to get paid here. And I don't think a lot of Aussie employers will have an option to send money to your UK, American, Canadian, Indian bank account. Life is just easier when you have banking sorted. As I'll mention later on, it is a bit of a process, right? So for almost an entire year of me living in Australia, I had to use my UK bank account, which was not ideal. So life is just easier with a local based bank account. Transfers are smoother, bills are easier to pay, and you feel a lot less like a tourist when you have one. And if you're working, then number 9, get your TFN sorted. This is essential if you're coming here to work, especially on a working holiday visa. It's not glamorous, it's a little bit boring, but it's very necessary. TFN is your tax file number. In the UK, we call this our national insurance number. So do it early, don't procrastinate on this one. You can't get a job without one, so get it sorted. The government then know who you are and you can move on. And if you're like me and you're a bit entrepreneurial, then number 10, get an ABN. ABN is an Australian business number. This means that you can be a sole trader in Australia. You could be a freelancer, do freelance video editing. That was a fun job while I was building this YouTube channel. And honestly, as long as your visa allows it, a lot of people will want to do this. It's 2026 and people are realizing that to build more sort of financial security, it's good to have your own sort of little business on the side, because it gave me the ability to have a job that I could do from home and work my own hours, pay my rent and bills, but also have time to focus on my acting career. If I got a 9-to-5 office job, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Number 11, buy a houseplant. Now, this sounds stupid, but hear me out. Studies like this one have shown that just by bringing some nature indoors reduces your stress and can be really good for productivity. It's light, it's airy, and the amount of indoor plants and indoor plant shops you can find in Australia is amazing. Not only that, but a plant in your house makes it feel less temporary, even if it is, which can help to reduce the homesickness. And honestly, plants make your apartment or house feel like they're worth coming home to, even if you are spending a lot of your time, hiking or adventuring or in the city. Which brings me on to something a little bit more emotional. Number 12, you will miss home. No one tells you this properly, but you'll probably have the best year of your life here and still miss home. You'll be on the beach thinking, this is insane, I'm absolutely living the dream, and then suddenly you're hit with this melancholy of missing a grey Tesco's car park. It's absolutely normal, so set reminders on your calendar or to-do list to make those calls back home. Text your mates and let your loved ones know what time zone you're on so they can plan accordingly as well. And definitely put it in your calendar, because having that date in your calendar is like a little goal point to look forward to. You could be having a great week and you're doing all of these amazing experiences, but waking up and, realizing that your mum and dad are just about to go to bed or they're already sleeping, sometimes it's hard. I actually made a full-length video about this and why I was wrong about the UK, and it's out on my Patreon. When you sign up, it gives you the full backlog of the Patreon-only videos. So if you want to take a look, you can scan the QR code or it's in the link in the description. And once you've got all of that sorted, you will need number 13. Find your local coffee shop. Do it on the first day if you're not too jet lagged. Coffee culture is a big deal here, but it's not done in a snobby way. It's almost like the social glue of your local community. Australia has the best coffee in the world. They've even won a lot of awards for it, and a lot of that comes from the incredible Greek and Italian migration, sort of building that scene. But more than coffee, cafes are third spaces. So home is your first space, work is your second space, and your third space is usually somewhere like your cafe, your local community centre, maybe your local bookstore. And third spaces used to be a really big deal 50, 30, even 10 years ago. But with the rise of social media and virtual reality and being able to FaceTime people and even, more streaming subscriptions, people don't leave the house as much. But a cafe is not only one of the best third spaces to join, it's one of the easiest if you're in Australia. You'll start making friends while you're waiting in line and, sitting at a table if you're on your own. And it all starts to feel like you belong somewhere. And trust me, belonging is everything when you move countries. Even if you move with a partner, friends, family, if you don't go out and make your own social connections off your own action, then you can feel very lonely, even in paradise. Now, once you're making those memories with the people you love, you'll need number 14. Get a camera. Filmmakers always say the best camera is the one that you have on you. If you can, try and get a physical camera, because honestly, our phones, they are designed to distract us. When you open your phone to take a beautiful picture or a cinematic film, there's also all the social media apps competing for your attention. If you have a physical camera, you don't need to worry about that. And there's something about holding a camera in your hands and snapping a photo or hitting record to take a video. Something about that feels so much more, it just feels good. And Australia is ridiculous. The beaches, the mountains, even like a plant, even like a tiny little plant on the ground. It's so beautiful. And if you have a nice camera to capture all the colors of this place, oh my word, you will thank yourself, especially when you are 90 years old. You look back at those photos and videos and realize that that chapter of your life was huge. Number 15, write a bucket list. Don't just see how it goes. It's a classic, especially if you're that adventurous type, very spontaneous, we'll just see where the road takes us. But honestly, it's too big of a country to do that. Definitely write down at least a handful of things that you want to do. I mean, there's the age-old study that shows that if you write down your goals, you are more likely to achieve them. So if you want to have your dream Australian adventure, write down a few things that you want to do, because they're not going to happen if you don't. You're not going to take action if you don't remind yourself of what those things are, because honestly, some days you might wake up here, you won't want to get out of bed. I mean, it's like that sometimes. It doesn't solve all your problems. So you could go one step further, and as long as you've got your visa sorted, book or plan a few of these things before you even get here. I mean, that would be sick. It might sound boring and like a waste of time now, but if you do it now, then you're gonna have more time to go out and have fun when you're actually here. But now you've got your bucket list, you're gonna need a bit of money to do it. So number 16, create a savings pot. If in your home country, you don't have a bank account that gives you internationally fee-free spending, go get one today. It'll make a world of difference. When I first moved to Australia, because I needed proof of my address here, there was a huge delay for when I could get my Australian bank account. They needed a bill with my address on it, and we were still looking for an apartment, we were still trying to buy a car. There was so much to do that it was going to be months and months until I could even open an Australian bank account. And had I not had my UK bank account that doesn't charge me any fees for spending in Australia, I would have been screwed. And go the extra mile, a lot of these bank accounts will let you open a savings pot. Give it a fun name like Australia Fund or something like that, and that way, anytime one of your Aussie mates says, oh, let's take a flight to Cairns this week and go explore the Great Barrier Reef, you can be like, yes, let me just check how much I've got in my savings pot. If I'm being really honest, exploring Australia is only fun when you have the freedom and the funds to do it. If you don't have those two things, it's not going to be fun, even in paradise. And if you're juggling money between countries, you'll want number 17, set up smart transfers. Before you even get here, I would recommend working out how you'll move your money from the UK or your home country to Australia and vice versa if you know you're not going to live here forever. You need a solid app, and there's a lot of them out there. I won't say which one because it's a very personal thing, so find what works best for you. But there's 3 things you want to look out for. Number 1 is good reviews from other people who have used this app. Make sure they're not con artists, make sure they're not going to scam you. Number 2 is that the fees for transferring this money abroad is as low as possible. And number 3, the speed in which they can transfer this money. Yes, maybe you're only paying $1 transfer fee, great. But if the catch is that you have to wait a month until you get that money, it's probably not a very good deal. Now let's zoom back out to daily life. Number 18, learn the basic Aussie phrases. You'll hear words and you think you misheard. You know, things like arvo, devo, bottolo, tradie, struth, fair dinkum, but just lean into it. If you don't know what it means, ask them. If anything, they'll love teaching you. I know that Maddie had so much fun teaching me all the Aussie slang, and don't feel like you need to use it. Aussies just want you to be yourself, and if you force, saying mate, and you're Canadian, they'll probably be like, it's all right, you don't need to do that. But it's part of the fun, and if you do feel brave enough to use a bit of slang, be like, yeah, mate, I'm just going to the bottle-o. People will love it. They will. They'll just appreciate you for trying, and in your own way. And speaking of leaning in, number 19, say yes more than it feels comfortable. Of course, don't say yes to anything stupid that will get you hurt or, you get the idea. But a beach invite? Go to it. A barbecue? Go to it. Random coastal road trip? Obviously go. Oh my word. That's not the sort of thing you can do in the UK unless you live in Cornwall or Devon. Australia rewards people who participate. For having a fair go is like the classic Australian expression. And let's be honest, you didn't move across the planet to sit inside all day and play video games, so just get out there. Number 20, keep your UK SIM for now. If you're here for the short term, then keeping your home country SIM card will save you a lot of headaches later. Now obviously we talked about Saily earlier, so you can get one of their eSIM plans which sorts you out for your data, but also it means you get to keep your home country phone number, so you don't lose that because that sucks. If you've signed up to any services or apps or subscriptions or products with your UK phone number or your home country phone number, there's a very high chance that they will want to send you 2-factor authentication codes. You know those little like 6-digit codes they text you, so you can then put it in and confirm that it's you, who's using whatever it is. On my word, if you got rid of your home country SIM card, you wouldn't be able to confirm your identity to them, and then you would have to go through the headache of finding some sort of other way to authenticate yourself, which you might not have set up. So trust me, you want to keep it. Number 21, don't try to become Aussie overnight. You're allowed to still be British. You can keep your tea habits, you can keep your weird sarcastic humour, keep your weird nostalgia of miserable things, it's fine. Australia doesn't want a copy. It wants you. Bit romantic. So trust me, don't try to become Aussie overnight. I've mentioned this before, Aussies can smell fakeness from a mile away or a kilometre away, so it's fine. And finally, number 22, remember why you came. At some point, the novelty wears off. The sunburn, the palm trees, the confusing supermarkets. And when that happens, remember the version of yourself 5, 10, 20 years ago even, was absolutely dreaming about this, especially this moment you're living in now. You made it. And that part alone is kind of mad, isn't it? How exciting. But if you want to keep the adventure going, go watch this video here, all about the hardest lessons Australia has ever taught me. So click that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, join this lovely community, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.